Hi, this is Andy Hoffman of CryptoGoldCentral.com, where I publish a daily crypto-focused blog and provide professional cryptocurrency consulting services. Unfortunately, the experience hasn't been fun or rewarding this year, as no matter what Bitcoin accomplishes operationally or how obvious its use case becomes to the millions of people experiencing the increasingly dire ramifications of central banks gone wild in, say, Venezuela, Argentina, India, Turkey, and South Africa, to name but a few. The consolidation of last year's epic bubble rise, driven by Wall Street money entering the space like a bull in a china shop, continues to hold back the inevitable explosion of the best monetary invention, natural or man-made, ever created. I'd intended on simply writing an article today on one of my favorite topics, the good, smart people worthy of your attention, as unquestionably the identification of such people is the most valuable tool in your due diligence arsenal. However, given last night's price decline, I'll start by addressing my take of what's going on in the space, which, contrary to the price action, is not the slightest bit negative, and frankly has never been more positive. Yes, the bad, dumb people are out in full force, like LOL, Nobel Prize winners Joseph Stiglitz, Ken Rogoff, and Nouriel Roubini, who recently said Bitcoin will fail as a currency due to its high volatility and lack of intrinsic value. The latter of which, as I discussed in last week's The Biggest Myth in Financial History, monetary backing, is a ridiculous statement to make, as not a single other form of money is backed by anything, including precious metals and particularly fiat currency. As if Bitcoin could care less what a bunch of Atlas shrugged like academician sellouts have to say anyway. And yes, the equally status quo owned Bitcoin propagandists are out in full force too, like the Chinese central bank, claiming it has destroyed Bitcoin due to last year's trading bans, which came before the price surge from 5,000 to 20,000, and which in time will not be able to prevent the increasingly decentralized Bitcoin network from proliferating, particularly in nations like longtime rivals Japan and South Korea, where it is embraced. Conversely, actual news in the Bitcoin space, as opposed to the aforementioned propaganda, couldn't be more positive, like record SegWit adoption, exploding Lightning Network expansion, record hash rate and network speed, nearly record low transaction fees, and the end of all concerns, real or imagined, that Bcash or any other cryptocurrency can challenge Bitcoin's primary use case propositions of long-term wealth storage and potentially a cornerstone of future monetary regimes. This, as fiat currencies continue to serially collapse amidst the extremely high volatility said Nobel Prize winners claim to be Bitcoin's fatal flaw. Well, its demand for precious metals, i.e., the only other currencies, monies claiming sound money characteristics, is all but dead. And again, the concept of Bitcoin's volatility being a flaw is comical, as until it reaches the critical mass required for mass adoption, it of course will be volatile. After all, there's likely no more than 5 million or so freely floating. And if you thought attacking a status quo that has been entrenched for hundreds of years would be easy, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. However, until the consolidation of last year's mania plays out, however that may occur, we'll be forced to wait and do what Bitcoin's earliest and smartest adopters have done from day one, i.e., HODL, utilizing offline storage devices, enabling them to maintain the private keys. From my standpoint, numerous positives have appeared. 7 months from Bitcoin's top in December and 6 from the altcoin peak in January. Regarding the former, we have now bounced off the $100 billion market cap level 4 times, the first on February 6th in the high 5900s, and the last in June in the low 5800s, as given the increased amount of supply, the price yielding a $100 billion market cap has slightly declined to today's level of around 58.40. To me, this level has from day one been extremely critical. In fact, going all the way back to September, when I said the price would surge when 100 billion was breached, given the increased level of deep-pocketed institutional money it would attract. Since the year-end bubble popped, it's not a coincidence that this new level of Bitcoin investor has showed up at these levels, as like me and many of you, they realize its long-term potential as both an investment per se and a game-changing monetary construct. Will $100 billion hold, as it has for the past 5 months, contrary to doomsayer predictions of fudsters seeking to scare hodlers out of their positions? I don't know, of course, as in financial markets, anything can happen. However, given everything I've learned about Bitcoin and everything I see in both the crypto space and mainstream monetary world, I find it difficult to believe much more downside exists in the tiny $100 billion Bitcoin market compared to increasingly anachronistic stock, bond, and currency markets valued at cumulatively $200 to $300 trillion, depending on how you measure them. Even if 100 billion doesn't hold in the near term, that in no way means Bitcoin is going away. Then again, as we're not yet close to that level, there's no need to address it at the moment. As for today's principal topic, I have for years discussed the value of identifying good, smart people in the investment world. Not that many exist, as in order to meet that definition, you must, one, know what you're talking about, and two, have readers' best interests at heart. I know it sounds simple, and yes, everyone has some type of personal agenda that may conflict with some portion of their reading or listening audience. However, those with obvious conflicts of interest are easy to spot, as are those whose knowledge of the space is lacking. To that end, we can only do our best to point out the best and avoid the worst. And in crypto, as I did beforehand in bullion, mining stocks, and oil field equipment stocks, my goal is to help you find them. Conversely, the bad, dumb people, for lack of a better description, should be avoided at all costs. Although, of course, even they have insights that can help you become smarter. I've spent a lifetime avoiding such people, and if you read my blog and tweets, it should be obvious who I believe some of them are. Then again, some of the people I attack are for more personal reasons, like, say, Bitcoin maximalists who attempt to bully nonconformists, who are not preaching things that will hurt you per se, but instead narrow your understanding of the space and limit your ability to learn. As for the good, smart people, I figured to give you a short list today, although assuredly I am leaving out many others that deserve to be on it. Not surprisingly, my list of go-to people is short, given my personal educational needs. However, you should strive to make your list as long as possible, to garner as much good information as you can. To that end, here are some of the people who have influenced and or helped me most in the world of cryptocurrency. Some due to their grasp of technical matters, some financial, and some the optimism and inspiration they bring to the space each and every day, who in many cases have been guests on my one-on-one podcasts. Number one, Simon Dixon, who will be my guest on Friday. Adam Meister, Francis Pouliot, Ansel Lindner, Ken Bosak, Max Kaiser, Alistair Milne, Giacomo Zucco, Jack Mallers, Vortex, aside from his unfathomable devotion to King T.A. Fudster, Edward Blake, i.e. the Renegade Investor, Mike Krieger, Rocky Palumbo, Ronnie Mose, Zach Bowl, John Carvalho, Blake Anderson, Joseph Young, Tor Demeester, Jimmy Song, Whale Panda, and of course, Andreas Antonopoulos. As I look at this, I realize just how woefully short it is, as over the years, at least 100 more people have helped me mold my crypto worldview, particularly a dozen or so of the Bitcoin core developers, who during the height of last year's scaling debate were invaluable sources of information and comfort. Heck, even King T.A. Fudster himself deserves kudos for his role in supporting Bitcoin and comforting investors during the height of last year's terrifying scaling debate, for which I'll always be grateful, despite my current dislike of his current modus operandi. Moreover, at least 100 more are undoubtedly equally valuable, but since the world is a very large place, I simply haven't been introduced to them. To that end, I always welcome your input on this topic, as I am always seeking new sources of good information, and of course, guests for my one-on-one podcasts. In conclusion, I cannot be more bullish about Bitcoin's fundamental outlook or investment thesis, given a Mayer multiple that has been lower just 8% of the time throughout Bitcoin's 9-year history. Moreover, I am continually encouraged by the caliber of people who have risen to leadership roles in the decentralized BTC community, and disappointed by those I'd hoped to see more from. That's life in a nutshell, identifying good, smart people who will enrich your life, and in the investment world, help you make smart financial decisions, like, in my view, hodling Bitcoin on offline hardware devices. Thanks, and have a great crypto day.